I accidentally forgot to hit the record button right away, so we're starting this video off after just beating the Magikarps. But we've got a very special game today. Please forgive me for bragging, but I'm just gonna do it. This is one of the most stylish games that I've ever played, and I get a lucky start, I'm not gonna deny that. But rather than taking a good start and turning that into a boring psychic double Grookey comp like the last game that I played, this game, we're gonna be doing what the kids call aura farming. We're not gonna beat our opponents with skill and smart decisions, we're gonna beat them with style. Alright, let's actually start seeing what's going on with this game. Just like the last video, I'm already angling towards a bug poison opener. We've already got 2 bugs and 2 poison units. But as we move into stage 4, what is this shop? Looks like the game really wants me to play Zubat, so you know what? Let's do it. I grabbed myself a very early evolution in Golbat, and normally I would just stop there. It's a solid unit in the early game with a pretty nice ability, but I almost never think that it's worth going for Crobat. But you know what? The game gave me 4 Zubats in 4 shops, and I would also love to evolve my other units and find a 3rd poison unit, so let's do it. Let's do an early game roll down. Apologies once again for my painfully slow rolling. I'm too slow to do anything cool before the round starts, but we are slowly accumulating a lot more Zubats. We get ourselves a 3rd poison unit in Nidoran, and even though we get absolutely crushed this round after a few more rolls and getting down to 0 money, we find ourselves a shop with 2 more Zubats. That's going to be Golbat number 2, and we're just 2 Zubats away from a Crobat. I'm also very fortunate to grab myself the exact components I need for a Razor Claw and Razor Fang combo. A fantastic combination of items, and especially so on a fast attacking backline unit. And we'll just continue along with this double Golbat team. 2 Golbats is certainly going to be better than whatever I can conjure up with Bug 2 synergy. So we'll take these double bats to take on a weak Bug and Fighting team. We're absolutely broke, so we're trying to make up as much money as we can. We're definitely going to be behind in terms of interest, but hopefully we can make that up with a nice win streak and a solid team that will carry us well into the mid game. We'll press onwards, taking on a baby team supported by a very strong Rocky Helmet protected Monferno. While that Rocky Helmet does protect against crits, it does not protect against poison, so that's going to keep our win streak alive. Next round, no Zubats, but we do grab ourselves a Kakuna. Now I'm wondering if we should slot in the Bug 2 for 2 Kakunas, but ultimately I think it's better just to run the 2 Golbats. And we can also sell our bench to get back up to 20 gold. So we'll continue onwards with that, taking on this Fire team who also has a Rocky Helmet. But once again, Poison is greatly helping out against that. And despite Sandshrews' Fire team being quite strong, we're still able to squeeze out a win here. Alright, next round we've got an ad pick, and I decide to grab the Miracle Seed to make myself a very strong early game max revive. And despite not being too rich, now is the best time to roll for that Crobat. We're approaching level 5, and next round is a PvE round. And I definitely don't want any wild units influencing my shop rolls, so let's roll down now. And thankfully, the good fortune continues, as it only takes a few rolls to grab myself a Crobat. That's going to be our early to mid-game carry, and now we can run Bug 2 to double our Kakunas. And we didn't spend too much money, but we still are super poor. So let's go ahead and clean up our bench and try to get our interest up. Our Crobat is going to take on this Rock Ground team, and this fully evolved early game unit with a nice pair of items is going to make short work of this Rock Ground team. Alright, so far this has just been a strong early game with a fully evolved unit, but as we now approach Gyarados, I gotta think about where am I going to take this team? Since we are going to use this Crobat for a while, we gotta look at its synergies, and honestly, Poison isn't very strong right now, Flying isn't very strong either, and then there's Sound, which does have potential to be strong, but I don't really have Sound items. You know, most vertical Sound teams are about casting abilities and synergizing with Psychic, and right now I really just have 2 attack damage oriented items. So we'll definitely have to figure things out as we go. Gyarados goes down no problem, but we do get a Fossil Stone from it, which makes me even more confused because I really don't know where I'm supposed to take this team. I do notice that there's a lot of Fossil ad picks, so maybe I could try some kind of Fossil team, but looking at all the symbols on the portals, there are no Fossil symbols, so I figure let's just go into Portal with a Poison symbol. We can always just pick the Poison unique and continue with it, and sell it off and pivot if we need to in the future. Regardless, here is my selection of unique Pokemon. Our Poison pick is Gligar, who honestly, in my opinion, is quite weak. can be okay in the mid game if you can evolve it with a Razor Fang, which I do have, but I really don't want to sell off my Crobat after investing my early game into it. Another option I'm considering is the Tanamouse, because the Razor Claw and Razor Fang do work pretty well with Fairy Synergy, but looking at the ad picks of the game, the only Fairy ad is Cottony, and it's pretty underwhelming. It's also just kind of a weird pivot to go from Poison to Fairy. Certainly doable, but I don't think Tanamouse is strong enough to warrant that. After much thought and deliberation, I think my best option might actually be Soul Rock. Kind of a weird pick that's very often not chosen. It's a support unit that buffs the attack of its allies but also not itself. It activates the Zenith Weather, and it has Fire, Rock, Light synergy. Looking at the ad picks, there are a few light ads, as well as a few rock ads, so maybe we can figure something out there. But if anything, at least we can use Soul Rock's ability to buff up my Crobat, who's going to be my primary carry for the mid game. Maybe I can turn this Fossil Stone into a Firestone and play some kind of weird fire team. Regardless, we have a very easy matchup against our first opponent, who looks to be pivoting dragons. Despite my team looking very disjointed, we have some very strong units, and we're able to make short work of this opponent. In the next round, I pick up a Trubbish and a Magnet. I wasn't able to find the Charcoal I was thinking about, but at least Magnet is still a strong component for my current team, and this Trubbish is actually a pretty nice upgrade compared to Nidoran. I can also slot in Surskit in place of Blipbug, and right now I'm kind of thinking about Choice Scarf as my third item for my Crobat, so we'll throw that Magnet onto my Crobat, just making my team as strong as possible. And we're taking on a Fairy Psychic Uxie team. This team is definitely looking very strong, and they've even got their own breaks in with Payday, but thankfully for us, Crobat is just way too strong and does way too much damage for my opponent to handle, and it's well supported behind our fairly tanky front line. After winning that round with the excess gold that I have, I decide to pick up 2 Pichus, because I'm starting to get some ideas, and it's especially reinforced after seeing that Helioptile has been added to the game. And then the next drop giving me an evolution in Pikachu. My plan for pivoting is now underway. First things first, we gotta grab an item from this carousel, where unfortunately we'll be moving dead last in, but I'm not too upset with picking up a Nevermelt Ice. And here we go, let us commence the plan. We're gonna make ourselves a green orb and give that to our team buffing Soul Rock, and then we're gonna turn our super strong Crobat into an electric unit, because now I am hoping that I can do some kind of electric light team. So I am now rolling the shop for a Helioptile or a Mareep. But first things first, I do an artificial check, and my artificial item is a Metronome, which throws even more ideas into my head because Metronome gives a unit PP generation as well as sound synergy, and Crobat also has sound synergy. My goal is to do some kind of scaling electric team, and as strange as it sounds, a Metronome sound Soul Rock definitely fits in this team. It's gonna work really well with my electric Crobat, and everything that I'm saying here is absolutely crazy. And maybe the stars are aligning, but I'm definitely feeling like this can work. One thing that I am a little bit concerned about, however, is that I don't know where the light spot is. I'm really hoping that it's in an area that my Crobat or Soul Rock can make use of, but we'll get there when we get there. So just to recap, our plan is Electric Crobat supported by Soul Rock, Light, and Sound. Right now, we're still just rolling with Poison. We're gonna slowly make the pivot, but then look who shows up in my shop. I've been fully dialed in on ad picks, and I failed to look at my regionals. And I fully neglect the Toxil, who I normally only use in Baby 7, but I'm now realizing that Toxil is the perfect bridge Pokemon that connects everything that I'm trying to do, because Toxil has both Electric and Poison synergies, allowing me to hit both Poison 3 and Electric 3 right now, but when it evolves, it also has Sound synergy, allowing me to get even more potential sound scaling, as well as retaining Poison as a potential side synergy. And realizing that Toxil is both literally and figuratively the most pivotal Pokemon for my team, things are really starting to click. And then, it doesn't just stop there. You know who else is a regional in this region? It's Varoom, which just like Trubbish is a Poison artificial unit, and now I'm like, what if I just did it all? What if I ran Poison, Artificial, Electric, Light, Soul Rock, Sound? My mind is suddenly blown with all these options and pathways that I can take my team, and I might just be crazy enough to think that I can pull all of this off. But first things first, we gotta take down Mewtwo and Mew, who give me a magnet for taking them down, and immediately my mind jumps to, that's a Thunderstone! And bam, Fossil Stone is in the item draft, so that's an instant click and an instant build for me. Our Soul Rock is now an electric unit, we'll go ahead and do our artificial 4 check, and the item is an electrolyzer, which is pretty good with electric synergy. But unfortunately, there's just so many units and synergies that I want to use right now, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything. So for now, we'll just continue along with this really awkward poison 4, electric 4, artificial 3 team. Come on, Wef, you gotta really clean up your synergies there. But as we continue to think and roll, I end up finding a Helioptile in my shop. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get light synergy in here too. But let's take on our next opponent, who is running a psychic sound team, and that kind of makes me roll my eyes, because they've got 2 of the strongest sound units in the game, and we all already know that Grookey is an absolute menace in the late game, so I'm definitely a little bit concerned about this team. But for now, my very cool poison electric artificial sound team is able to win pretty handedly, as we move on to the next round, where I'm finally able to clean up my synergies and run electric 5, light 2 with Helioptile. And unfortunately, it looks like the light spot is in the front row this game, which is not a good spot for either Solrock or Crobat, but that's okay, we can still definitely make use of it, and we'll throw our Pikachu onto it, and we'll take on a Dragon Psychic team. And despite this team being a Dragon 7 team with a lot of evolutions, we're hitting this team with multiple angles, melting them with poison, bursting them down with electric, and scaling up with Solrock and Sound, and with that, we are confidently continuing the win streak. Alright, we've got another carousel where I will once again be moving last in, so while we wait for our timer to tick down, picking up yet another solid poison unit from my shop, I've got my eyes locked in on leveling up to 8, which would be really nice because then I could run poison 5, electric 5, but we're still a few rounds off from that. For now, it looks like this carousel leaves me with only the option of a charcoal, which is fine. I'm honestly not too worried about what my final item is going to be. I'm more still just thinking about how do I want to make this team work, what legendary would fit in with my team, how am I going to win in the late game against all these psychic and dragon teams? At this point in the game, I honestly don't know. All I do know is that my team is sick and I want to keep my win streak going. So let's go ahead and tempo aggressively to level 8. This is going to allow me to run electric 5, poison 5, 2 synergies that normally you never see together. But like I said, this game we're playing with style. Just before the next fight starts, I am able to evolve myself a Heliolisk, but unfortunately we won't see that until the next round. Let's keep it going against yet another Psychic team, and this one is based around Cosmog. Fortunately for me, it's pretty late into the mid game, and they still haven't evolved their Cosmoem yet, so that's going to be a pretty comfortable win for me. And not only that, while rolling away all of my gold, look who shows up in my shop, the never ever used to its full potential, Toxtricity. You'd think that these synergies have no overlap at all, but I'm out here proving the world wrong. Like, seriously guys, this is the coolest thing ever. Look what I'm doing here. I'm the greatest. My Pokemon auto chess skills are gonna dominate the earth. Sorry guys, I just kind of blacked out there for a second. Check it out guys, I have evolved myself a Toxtricity, and let's give it the max revive that my Pikachu has been holding on to this time. We can do some adjustments to our team and make it as strong as possible as we move into the next round. We'll take on another Dragon team as we once again try to build our gold back up. This Dragon team looks to be trying to bump up their Ice Energy, which isn't going to do much against my physical attacking Poison Sound Electric team, and this win is going to bring our win streak all the way into the late game. And now we're approaching Lugia and Ho-Oh. And now I kind of have a conundrum. What legendary am I supposed to take? Like, it's probably not going to be a poison legendary, but maybe an electric one? Or what if I get something like a Pheasantipity, which is poison sound? Maybe it is a poison legendary. But what if I want to sell off my Crobat and repurpose those items onto a strong backline attacker, like a Xerneas, for example? After putting a lot of thought into it, I think my best option is actually Xurkitree. Even though I don't have the best items for Xurkitree, I think it's going to be a solid unit for my team just for its synergies alone. We take down Lugia and Ho-Oh no problem, and here is the legendary portals where I see a ton of psychic and sound symbols, but there is a portal with light and artificial that's headed right in front of my face. And there it is, the Xurkitree, alongside the Xerneas and the Pheasantipity. Those are the 2 examples that I literally just brought up, and I swear I didn't even realize that they were in my selection when I recorded that bit. I guess this game actually is just full of cosmic coincidences. And I'm sure in some alternate universe I have a Pheasantipity instead of the Xurkitree, or maybe it's that electric crit Xerneas. But in this universe, it's going to be Xurkitree, who has some very cool effects. Its attacks do special damage instead of physical damage, and it scales with ability power. And with some very specific items, this thing can be an absolute powerhouse. But unfortunately with the items that I have, I think Xurkitree is just going to be a secondary carry for me, but it does provide some very nice synergies for me. Now, moving forward, I unfortunately can't actually fit everything that I want to fit. If I want to go Electric 7, I will have to drop one of my synergies, and that's unfortunately going to be Poison 5 going down to Poison 3. We saw the teams that my opponents are running. It's a lot of Psychic, some Sound, a lot of really strong burst teams that Poison is just not going to be strong enough to take down. So for now, we'll use Electric 7, Light 4 to take down this Psychic team. And yeah, even in the late game, somehow our Crobat is still the highest damage on our team. Perhaps I have misjudged you, Crobat, because as long as you keep putting in work, I'm not going to sell you off and I'm going to keep using you. Alright, as we continue along, there's still one more Pokemon that I would really like to pick up, and that's going to be Shinx for Light 5 synergy. And of course there are still units on my team that I would love to evolve, so I'm going to commit a little bit of money into rolling. And after not hitting, a little bit of money turns out to be a lot of money. I don't find anything in time for our next fight, which is against a ground team. Right as the battle starts, we're able to find a Shinx in the shop. But first, let's see if we can take down this ground team, which has a few very strong units, especially this Groudon in the back line with a wide lens. Thankfully, my team just does way too much damage, and we're still holding on to a nice Poison 3 synergy, which provides me with just a bit of true damage for support, and we're able to melt away the Groudon before it sweeps away my team. Alright, next round is a Carousel. Once again, I am moving last. All the nice defensive items get claimed before I'm able to move, so I end up grabbing an upgrade, which is definitely a nice item in a scaling electric team. However, that was not the right choice, because the right choice is Scarf, which would have been much more helpful in taking down these bursty psychic teams, and it would have comboed really well with my Punching Glove, but in the end, upgrade is still not that bad. If anything, giving it to my Xurkitree gives it a tiny bit of ability power. Alright, in comes the Shinx, and we now have Light 5 synergy, giving our Light Spot Pokemon a ton of nice benefits, including a Resurrection effect, which does not stack with Max Revive, so let's put our Shinx on that Light Spot and move our Toxicity to the side. Our next opponent is a Dragon team, who actually makes short work of my front line, and also pretty quickly takes down my squishy Crobat. It's looking to be a pretty close fight, but thankfully, our Solrock is able to cast a bunch, buffing up our Shinx's attack, and with the Shinx being able to survive death once thanks to that Max Revive, working alongside the Solrock, we're actually able to win this fight despite losing our Crobat super early. Alright, let's continue onwards, and let's see how can I make my team stronger. The immediate and obvious answer is evolving my Shinx into a Luxio, and evolving my other units, of course, but it would also be nice to get another Sound unit and get up to Sound 4, and finding Luxio is going to be easier once I'm level 9, so it's kind of hard to say how I should be spending my money. Regardless, we still have a lot of health, and we'll definitely be making it to level 9, so I'm not going to spend away too much money. We'll move along taking on this Psychic Sound team who's looking stronger than ever with Chimecho, Primarina, Gothitelle, and Thwackey. It's burst against burst, as our team gets very quickly whittled down to the last unit, but so does theirs. It's coming down to the wire with a low health unit against another low health unit, but thankfully, a well-timed electric triple attack just barely secures me the win. Alright, as we approach the legendary birds, we have enough gold to get to level 9, but of course we're still going to wait a little bit because we are still full health. And as we take down the birds, I grab myself an Assault Vest, which is going to be very nice because we are lacking in defensive items, and this is going to help out a lot against those high special damage psychic teams. That's going to go on our Shinx, as we're able to find and lock a second one in the shop. Our next matchup is Psychic Dragons. Our Crobat starts off the battle doing tons of damage, but it doesn't take long for the Lati duo to cast their abilities and take down the Crobat with their combined power, and very quickly my team is starting to get outscaled by these late game psychic teams, but thankfully we still have a lot of health and we have a lot of money, so we still have time to figure things out. Next round, nothing happens, so I continue to remain patient as we slowly push towards level 9. Next opponent, a Psychic Sound team with Psychic Thwackey. People are dominating games with multiple copies of this monkey in their Psychic Sound teams, and even though this player only has one Thwackey, they also have a fully evolved Gardevoir, and as soon as it casts, it wipes out my team. After that round, there's only 3 players left, and the next carousel doesn't really have any items that I want. I want a special defense item for my Shinx or a third item for my Xurkitree, but unfortunately my best option ends up being a Punching Glove. Punching Glove is a great item for electric synergy, but my Xurkitree already has one, so this will instead go on my Solrock, and the Metronome is going to be repurposed to my Shinx because with light synergy it's going to be casting a lot, and with this Sound Shinx casting more often, that's going to be more sound buffs, more damage, and hopefully more survivability for that Shinx. This this round, I also dumped money to level up to level 9, to hit Sound 4 synergy and get those nice speed buffs, but also to have better odds of finding myself a Luxio. Unfortunately for me, it takes way too many rolls for me to find one, and our next battle starts before I'm able to get it. But we lock one in the shop as we take on this Psychic Sound team. And not only does this team have 2 Thwackies with really great items, but they've also got Primarina and Chimecho, which are really strong sound units, and even a 3rd Grookey helping out with its drumming. Also kind of hard to see, but I actually had a team during this fight. It might have been hard to notice because it was kind of like a blink and you'll miss it kind of situation. But yeah, that team just absolutely decimated me, and also the other remaining player, so there's only 2 of us left as we head into a PvE round against the legendary beasts. We do have a Luxio now, but I'm still really worried about how am I going to beat this sound team. This Crobat really isn't cutting it anymore, and our defenses, aside from Luxio, are quite pathetic. Well, taking down the legendary beasts, we grab ourselves a Shell Bell. That's a pretty nice healing item for a frontline light enhanced dasher, but it's not going to help me win the game. I really need some substantial changes to turn this around. The unit I need is in my next shop, but I'm a little too stun locked to realize it and I roll it away. But that's okay because the game's on my side and it gives it to me again. But then I roll past it once more. But eventually I do finally get the hint and I pick myself up a Porygon. Poison Synergy served me well in the early to mid game, but it's definitely not what I need to beat this Psychic Sound team. And yeah, Porygon is a great late game damage dealer who's got a surprisingly great amount of natural bulk, and it also steals the effects of your opponent's highest synergy. So while I have 4 sound units giving me sound 4 buffs, Porygon's going to be my 5th sound unit that actually gives me sound 6 buffs. But unfortunately I run out of time before I'm fully able to reshape my team. But just when you thought things couldn't get any more ridiculous, my opponent now has double Thwackey and double Grookey. That team is generating so much PP and they're just casting so quickly. Once again, the fight lasts like 3 seconds and my entire team is gone. Thankfully, by the end of that round, I was able to find what I need to make myself a Porygon 2. Extremely fortunate. It's time to finally say goodbye to Crobat and repurpose those items on my very strong Porygon 2. And now we need to find a replacement sound unit if we want to keep sound 4, which I do eventually find. And the last thing to do is to reposition around my opponent's team. There's not much I can do about the Chimecho, who has a team-wide ability, but I can position around the Primarina, so that's done by spreading my units apart. And I also want to get a nice surround on my opponent so that their Thwackies stop drumming and start hitting my team instead. So with the little time that I have left, I roughly space out my team, put some of my carries on the edges so that they'll hopefully close in on the exposed backside of my opponent's team. And as the battle starts, that's exactly what Porygon and Xurkitree do, working their way into my opponent's back line as Luxio gets 3 ability casts off before it dies. Light 5 brings it back alive, and it comes down to a duel between Luxio and Chimecho, but with a dash and a triple attack, Luxio is able to close it out. And that's got to be a contender for one of the most insane games I've ever played. Somehow this weird electric Soul Rock team that was also making use of Crobat for almost the entirety of the game was somehow able to take down an entire drum circle of monkeys. For all of you Psychic Thwackey haters, I hope that was some justice for you. And yeah, GG's to everyone here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next game. Take care.